Let's start recording YouTube. Thank you for coming today, Jesse. I'm looking forward to having conversation today.
Same.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this.
Okay. For the first time, I wanna introduce Jesse a little. Jesse is my senior. He's alumni MBA program. I will enter MBA. The MBA program name is Hult. He's alumni of Hult. So I met him for the first time as alumni person, and I respect him. And he has a very talented person, and he has experience a lot. So today I talk with him. Yes. And Jesse, could you explain by yourself about your introduction?
Sure, of course. Thank you again for this opportunity. So my name is Jesse Hollander. I am currently living in Florida. Although I'm a New Yorker, I was born and raised in Long Island, which is about 40 minutes or so from the city. Went to school in Boston. I studied psychology and Japanese. Spent a year abroad in Japan, and then came back to New York. And then I lived in New York for about 10 years or so. Left then for my MBA, where I studied in London, Shanghai, and Boston. Then came back to New York, and then moved to Florida now several years ago. My career really started in banking, working for a Japanese securities firm called Mizuho. And I worked in their cross-border M&A advisory shop, where my job was to identify investment opportunities in the US for our Japanese clients. And then once we identify and we go through the process, I would then do the valuation and sort of the management across the M&A process. I wound up leaving after a couple of years to then pursue my MBA at Hult. When I came back when I graduated from the MBA, I wound up starting my own advisory firm. Initially, the idea was to go get my MBA and then work back in Japan and be the white guy that worked in Japan, worked between Japan and North America. In the whole program, though, I got involved with a project in Africa, specifically in Ethiopia, and that shifted my view of opportunities that I saw at the time. This was 2010. The world was sort of still recovering from the crisis, and when I was in Ethiopia, one of the things that excited me about the country and about the region, East Africa specifically, part of it was there's a lot of Japanese investment in.
Oh, really? I see.
Yeah, in Ethiopia specifically, the region generally, and then the continent, broadly, depending on where it is. So I then thought, well, maybe I could do I could be like the white guy that straddled Japan and Africa and the States. So I had all these plans, right? But of course, they didn't work out. I wound up shifting back to the States, my geographic focus, and now I've been with a consulting firm since 2015. At the same time, I've been trying to launch a few different businesses, and several years ago, I launched a customer service company that I'm hoping to launch in Japan at some point in late 2000.
Yeah, I want to help entering Japanese market.
Yes, I'll need the help. I'll certainly need the help.
Gotcha. But you have experience, very international experience. I think you go to China and Japan and Africa and US, and you go. When I stayed in Japan, I focused on Japanese market only. So it's not necessary to speak in English, and I talked in Japanese only to have a conversation with clients. Our clients, I sold my company to Japanese listed company, but my clients are over 95% are Japanese people. So I have to speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to listening to your experience today's YouTube interview.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And Jesse, I want to ask you one question. Uh, you told me you came to Japan,
Hmm.
but why did you decide to attend Japan, come to Japan as a student at the time?
So I actually didn't. I wasn't able to get to Japan until after I graduated,
Okay.
and when I was in high school,
Okay.
um, when I was young, I always had an interest in Asia, but I didn't really know
Okay.
anything about Asia. I just knew that it was
Yeah.
like over there, like it was like far away. So
And very different culture. Yeah.
yeah, I,
European and American culture. Yeah.
well, I didn't even have any at the, I didn't have the nuance of, I just stood in my head there was Asia, right? And I didn't really know what Asia was. So when
Okay.
I was in 10th grade, I went to, I remember this like yesterday. I went to my library, and maybe I was younger than 10th grade, maybe ninth grade, but I went to my library and I took out a book on Korea and China and Japan and India and Singapore, and I just try to familiarize myself with with the country.
Okay.
And as I started learning more about, reading more about Japan, I became very interested in the history. Just it sort of drew me, and the language I thought was not only much easier, that pronunciation wise, than certainly Chinese or Korean
Yeah.
or any other, or a lot of other languages there.
Yeah. I
But
know.
there was this natural affinity that I
Okay.
had with, actually, one of the saddest days of my life.
Okay.
I was really young. I was, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe.
Okay.
I had my favorite GI Joe was a
Okay.
samurai. He was a samurai GI
Tama.
Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, and I lost him in a bank in
Okay.
Queens, New York. I still remember this. It still
Okay.
hurts. And I was walking with my grandma, and I lost the samurai GI Joe, and
Okay.
it was very painful. And that was way before I even had Japan, in my,
Okay.
my head. So I think there was always just something in me for a while.
But I think understanding Japanese it's very difficult. For example, we use hiragana, katakana, and Chinese characters. There are three types of characters. I can't believe it. If yeah, if we learn in English, it's more a little characters. It's
Yeah.
very simple, only alphabet. So when you come to Japan, could you learn Japanese? And Japanese and English constructure is very different, I think. So for Japanese people to learn English so hard, and opposite, American people try to learn Japanese. I think you are very hard when you came to Japan for the first time. When we talk with each other, we use English, but could you speak Japanese when you go to Japan?
So the hiragana and katakana
Yeah.
was not difficult because they're you sort of learn it, but um,
Okay.
uh, let me think.
Okay.
ちょっとね、
Okay. Let's try
て
to
か、
speak Japanese.
そう、日本語が勉強、20年前だけど、日本語勉強し
Oh.
まったけど、本当に、全然日本語を使わないから、やっぱり、日本語は忘れてしまった。ね、
Mm.
それから、来年ね、日本に、
Mm.
行くつもりですけど、日本語、本当に毎日のように勉強しなきゃならない。それから、それで、I can be fluent.
Yeah, but you could speak Japanese. I can understand what you want to say in Japanese.
Even though it's wrong.
Correct. Yes, yes. So I was very surprised. You didn't speak in Japanese about 20 years. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try
I
to
can believe.
listen. I try to listen to radio, and I watch shows on Netflix,
Okay,
but my vocabulary has not improved.
but I
So
And since I came here 3 months ago to
Mm.
San Francisco, I can keep using English. So I can remember English new words and many phrases.
Yeah,
But
that's
yes,
it.
but I don't use English. I cannot remember. Yeah, same situation. I understand. I feel sympathy. Your situation. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just you use it. You like my hope is that I can go when I go back to Japan. I could be there
Okay.
for like 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
and
For
Nihongo
three
Daku.
or 4 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my
Okay.
hope, and
When
then
you
only
come
speak
to
Japanese.
Okay, I promise you, when you come to Japan, I will use Japanese, and
Okay,
I will introduce many Japanese friends for you,
all
and
right,
you can
thank you.
have many opportunities to have a conversation in Japanese. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
a good idea.
that's I haven't been back in Japan
Okay,
in so long. It hurts. It hurts. So I'm really hoping maybe the end of this year I can
gotcha.
at least to go back for like 2 or 3 weeks. But if I could, my fundamental belief in life is that you could always combine passion and opportunity. It's just figuring out how, right? Like the in America historically, and this is really pre-COVID, I would argue, but
Okay,
America, it's either like you work, you have your day job, and then you have your life, and there was always like the split. But I think entrepreneurs, like yourself, it's the idea of, well, no, you just you wake up and you do something you love, and you figure out a way to make money, right? And then you never work a day in your life, as the expression goes. So my hope is that I could go back to Japan with my company and then kill two birds with one stone,
yeah.
as it is.
Yes, I want to try to cross over and try to build next business in US. So I
It's
stay
amazing.
in
It's
the
really
US and
amazing.
you go to Japan and let's cross over and let's try to make some business with each other. And I'm looking forward to do some business with you in the future.
All right, no,
Yeah.
you're living my dream, right? You're like, I want to go to America, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to set up two businesses, right? And
Yes.
that's amazing, right? I'm
Yes.
inspired by that.
Yeah, I want to leave Japan and the US. I came here 3 months ago.
Mm.
I could understand. I love Japan. Japan's food is very tasty and very reasonable price, and Japan's town are very beautiful,
Yeah.
clean. Yeah, I didn't know. It is because I have not lived in the US. I love US too. It is not because I came here for the first time. I couldn't speak English. I first time I came here, San Francisco, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
At the
Okay.
yes, 10 years ago. At the time, I couldn't speak English at all. But
Amazing. It's
yes,
amazing. Now,
some people helped me. It's okay. You will go back here. I promised them some entrepreneurs people in
yeah.
San Francisco. I will go back here. Yes, in the future. I promised. So I came back here. But they helped 10 years ago, they helped for me to make occasion to have a conversation, entrepreneurs, executive, and investor based in Silicon Valley. I didn't know Silicon Valley when I was a university student, but
Okay.
I came here and some people told me, what is Silicon Valley? Silicon Valley is a very huge ecosystem.
Mm.
And if entrepreneur enters this ecosystem, we can make opportunities to
Yes.
build next big thing, you
Yeah.
know? Yes, so I appreciate the US and the US. If some immigrants try to enter the US, there are dream. We have dream. Yes. So I love US and Japan too. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, it's a really inspiring story. For sure. I mean, especially if you're like, I have a plan, and 10 years later, right, you execute and you
Yes.
accomplish the plan. It's incredible.
Yes, exactly.
I know
Yes.
that I forget where, but I've seen statistics that say that immigrant-owned businesses are generally more successful than domestic-owned businesses. Just
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's the spirit,
Exactly.
right? It's like I have to work hard. I'm going to make this happen because I have
Yes,
to
yes. So
do it.
I remember some number the unicorn companies executive founders, unicorn company the founder is over 55% are immigrant.
Yeah,
So
I believe
yes,
it.
yes, immigrant people try to best in the US, and some immigrant founders succeed. So
Yeah,
it's a good thing. It's a good
amazing.
thing. Yes, and um, I want to come here, come to the US. So I sold my company. Next topic, I want to talk about M&A a
Mm,
little.
mm,
And Jesse, you told us you have experience execute M&A in Mizuho Group.
mm.
Yeah, is it correct?
Correct. Yeah. So
Yes.
I've done I was an investment banker.
Okay.
This was back in 2006 to 2009, and so that's where I really learned how to do financial modeling, and I understood the M&A process, all of that. When again, like when I graduated from Hult, I started an M&A advisory shop. It was a little less technical, but it still involved identifying investment
I
opportunities,
see.
doing evaluations, et cetera. That was really more for private equity firms. At Frost and Sullivan, the consulting firm that I'm at, we work with a lot of investment banks
Okay.
and private equity firms as well. But really, identifying, helping them do corporate due diligence, which was similar to what I did also as a banker. So for example, there was a hearing aid company where in South Africa, where a South African private equity firm wanted to invest in this company. So
Okay.
one of my projects was to do a corporate due diligence of that company. So I looked at their financial an analysis of their financial statements and their management projections. I looked at the environment around, surrounding the hearing aid industry, regulations, et cetera. I spoke with managers, I spoke with customers. So it's sort of a 360-degree and analysis. And then from there, presented a report to the private equity firm, identifying red flags, opportunities, things like that. In a similar way, I'm working with a project right now where it's for a private equity firm, and they've hired us to basically support. They recently invested in an industrial adhesives tape business.
I see.
So my role is to understand what are the opportunities, and I'm working with an expert in Frost and Sullivan. But what I have to do after this call is work on thinking through a digitization strategy for this industrial adhesive tape company
I see.
to
I see.
optimize the investment at the private
Yeah.
equity.
Thank you for telling me. And please tell me honestly, could you learn how to execute due diligence
Mm.
or find some good company for executing M&A? Did you learn at MBA program or
No.
no, no, no?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
Yeah, the MBA
yeah,
program,
please tell me.
the value of an MBA program is not
Okay, please tell me.
necessarily what you learn.
Okay.
It's the contacts, it's the network, it's the experience,
Yes.
but it's going through the process of like, what's a case study and how do you work with a team, and
Okay.
the things that I remember from Holt,
Okay.
honestly, they're
Yeah.
more around the experiences I had than what I've actually learned. Um, no one really learned. I mean, unless you go to like Stanford or Harvard or
Yeah.
some
Top tier. Yes.
major, but most of the, it's really the people that you meet that justify the money that you're spending.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
everything you can read, there are books that come out with like the 20-minute MBA course, everything
Yeah.
you're going to learn about, it's like, what's an Ansoff matrix, what's a Moscow analysis. So
Yeah.
it's not about the content, it's really about the contacts and the experience
Yeah.
and the
Thank you
degree,
for.
right? Because it opens doors.
Yes. If we want to learn some topic, we can access YouTube movie and the text for free. So
Yeah,
easy access. Yes.
LinkedIn Learning,
Yes.
Coursera. It's sad that this world, we have an unprecedented access to education and information, but we spend our time playing Candy Crush or that I should one of my favorite books. I
Okay.
think I
Please
may have
tell me.
talked about this before. Good
Yeah.
Strategy, Bad Strategy. I think I talked about it. there are a billion amazing business books, right, that I could learn from and grow and get smarter. But
Okay.
I'll spend a half an hour watching something on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's or like spend an extra 20 minutes on a Coursera course learning about AI,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
accessibility is not there.
Yes. So I feel in September I will try to I participate in MBA program, Hult MBA program that Jesse graduated from.
Mm.
But I think that the value is network. Uh, I c- I could enter Hult, so I can communicate with Jesse. Jesse is alumni, so it's
Mm.
more. It's easier to access you, but the texts, contents that we learn in MBA program, it's not so necessary to invest a lot of time. I feel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you want to do what you want to do well. It's true. Like, the what I if I had to do it over again, I would have, well prior to even starting with the program, I would
Okay.
get to know all of the professor, like every single professor.
Okay.
Look at their LinkedIn, look at their networks. Think about the companies that are associated with Holtz. Um, find out what projects you can work on, figure out what companies you'd want to be associated with, and actively pursue a voluntary project with that company. Um, make the MBA program work for you rather than just attending as a student. Um,
Okay.
I think the problem with education generally is too many students are just reactive. They sit there and they take content in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, reactive.
To be
Yeah,
like
I
all
think
hands
so.
on,
Yes,
like
yes.
yeah, like chop and spear. Just education should be uh, education should not be bloodless. Let me put it like that. It needs to be no holds bar. You need to be
Okay.
super engaged and aggressive in extracting every second that you're paying
Okay.
for. One thing that I would want to start, one of the companies I'd love to start is an estimator that if you're paying for a program, every day you get a text message that says, hey, today you're spending $1,873, right?
Yeah.
If you pay off, like I just finished paying off Hult maybe 2 years ago, but I spent
Okay.
8 years paying off a 1 year program. If
Okay.
in this calculator, this theoretical calculator, you say how long you think it's going to take you to pay off, and it estimates every single day. So you wake up in the morning that says you just paid $1,000 and 800, whatever it is, right? Make the day count.
Yeah, it's a good habit. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Thank you for telling me. And Jesse, I was very surprised to watch your LinkedIn followers number. I think your LinkedIn followers number over 15,000. It's amazing. How did you realize this number? I think you are good at networking, and since I came here, San Francisco, um, people who work worldwide use LinkedIn.
Mm.
Japanese people don't use so much LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Japanese people use Facebook, like Facebook mainly to communicate in
Interesting.
business. So it's very
Interesting.
domestic and different communication style in business. So
Mm.
please tell me how to get this follower and how to reach out to some person on LinkedIn. Do you have some knowledge?
Yeah, so part of it is just spending time on LinkedIn and every day when I wake up, generally the first thing I do is I try to spend
Oh,
like
I see.
10 minutes on like I'll still be in bed and I'll just like
Okay.
roll over and I'll pick up my phone and I'll it's a bad habit, but and you read through the news
Okay.
on the main page on LinkedIn, and you see what people are doing, and you follow the people you want to connect with, and then you just connect with people that post something that's interesting, or that you're connected to Bob and Bob reposts a post about something, right? And then you connect with the people that's there. The other thing is you can also I think the way that I've gone to this many contacts is really to be promiscuous. I mean, it's I would wind up just spending connect. So I'd put in a title of someone I'd want to connect with. So, angel investor. I mean, I haven't done this with angel investors because that's a little more specific, but private equity, like managing directors.
Yeah.
So I would do managing directors, and then by industry, venture capital and private equity, and United States, and just second degree connections, and there's connect. It's not the right way to do it. It's not the proper way to do it, but it's a brute force and effective way, because I'm a huge believer in the power of networks. One of my sort of geeky interests is social network analysis. Super interesting.
Yeah.
So they talk about like the 6 degrees of
6 degrees.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's not 6 degrees. It's like 2.5 degrees.
Really?
Right? They say 6 degrees, but it's not. You like, I'm 2.5 degrees away from the Prime Minister of Japan, right? Maybe you're 2 degrees away, whatever it is.
Oh, cool.
Because I mean, think about it, like Hult, right? Had Hult Prize, right? Which was you've got Clinton and Clinton's first degree connections with every world leader in the world, right?
Yeah.
So the leaps that are there, and the history of social network analysis is also really interesting. The mathematics of social network analysis grew out of something called graph theory, which grew out of an analysis that it was called the Königsberg Bridge, where it was basically this riddle where there was this like bridge that connects three pieces of land, and there was a riddle of is there a way to get to each part but only cross the bridge once? And there was mathematical formula that would like stumped mathematicians forever. There was this mathematician, this guy called Euler, who analyzed the problem and figured out, no, mathematically, there is no way to do it. And he solved this problem, Euler's problem. And out of that grew this concept of graph, where you just connect graph theory, where you're just connecting two things together. And it grew in geology and all of these different aspects of science. And now it's a very technical field. Anyway, I'm digressing.
Okay.
The more people that you're connected to, I believe the more opportunities that can emerge.
Yes, and Jesse, I feel I meet some person for the first time, but if we have some mutual connections on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
other people whom I meet feel relaxed. It is because we have mutual friends over 10 people. So this person is a trusted person or something.
exactly. Yeah,
Is it? Yeah, okay. I
yeah,
understand.
yeah, exactly.
It's very important thing, I think.
Yeah, because the biggest issue is reputation, right? If there's a new contact, how do you know that's a good person and who that person is associated with,
Yes.
right? But the other thing that LinkedIn should do is LinkedIn should automatically measure the level of engagement between that person and others. Like if I send an email out to 1 million people and I'm some jerk, but none of those 1 million people like reply to me, that's something. But LinkedIn should be able to show, okay, the people that reply that I'm actively engaged with also are at this level, right? And they graduate from XYZ school, and they're whatever it is. But who you are, you could quantify reputation, and the value of LinkedIn should show. And they don't do it for some reason, right? There's all of these intangible benefits that LinkedIn just opportunity cost, right?
Okay.
What they have.
Okay. Thank you for telling me. Everyone, let's try to register and use LinkedIn. And I think it's very important thing, provide information in English. I don't use LinkedIn in Japanese. It is because this services is suitable for people who use English. If I post in Japanese, I cannot connect with many people worldwide, I feel. In 3 months,
That's very funny.
every week I get 100 followers on LinkedIn.
That's amazing.
Yes, I could understand this function and this system. So, yeah. And Jesse, I want to talk about one thing. You work in Japanese company and not uh, in Japanese company and in based in China or something.
New
Uh,
York.
yes, New York, Japan. Okay, based in Japan and based in New York.
Mm.
How do you think about these company are different culture?
Yeah, it's very
Please
different.
tell me. Please
It's
tell
very
me.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. What is difference? What is difference?
So in banking specifically, sorry,
Okay.
in banking specifically, so there's the concept nemawashi,
Okay.
right? So
Nemawashi. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so my understanding of nemawashi is, plants, prepare the plant, right, or prepare the soil. Is that right?
Yeah.
Um, so the what that means in sort of tangible terms in banking, with working with Japanese, is they're very detail oriented very early on.
Yeah.
So when in American culture, it might be, hey, I'm interested in doing this deal. Tell me about the company. Tell me about the CEO. Is he a nice guy? Is he a jerk? How many employees does the company have, etc.
Okay.
But Japanese would ask like, hey, what is the CEO's, previous car from 20 years ago, and how many miles did he drive it, and what was the make of the tire?
Very specific information.
Very specific, very early on. So we would have to spend a lot of time getting all of these details. And at the end of the day, we're spending this time focusing on things, and we're missing the bigger picture. So there was always this conflict of the forest for the trees and the focus on the trees, and we missed it. And there was always that frustration, right? So in M&A, you need to ask the right questions, but you do it
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right.
I feel sympathy. I did M&A by myself. I was asked many, many, many questions. I was tired, very tired in my life.
Right. So, and I think part of it is, but the one great thing though is,
Okay.
the experience that we had was that, our Japanese clients, and we have Frost and Sullivan, we also, obviously, we've got an office in Tokyo, and they ask, there's a lot of questions and a lot of detail, but as soon as all of that's collected, boom, and they move really fast, right? Decision is made very quickly. But
Okay.
it takes a long, like, you have to move, the planet to get there. But then once it happens, so
Okay.
I think that was one that was very different. The other, I would argue that was a difference, was relationships. Um,
Relationships. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
there was a more, face to face communication. There's a lot of money is spent, for in Japanese business to travel over. I'm not sure this is necessarily the case post COVID, but I'd argue that it is. But
Yes.
face to face was very important.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you know,
Okay.
Japanese is notorious for wasting, like, not being effective, not being efficient, right? Just like spending time in the office because the boss
Okay.
didn't come home, right? So that, like, and just sort of doing work for work's sake, but not necessarily working, like working as efficiently. There's processes, and so I know, like, and that I think might have changed as well, but the culture, the samurai,
Yeah. Yeah.
culture is very much visible in the business culture, right?
Yes, but samurai have to understand other countries' culture, business culture, and they have to try to suit to other countries' culture,
Mm.
or and so on. It's very important thing. Um,
Yep.
it's very happy to understand with each other, but if we Japanese people keep very domestic and traditional habit, other people feel a little stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you for telling us honestly. It's very important thing.
Mm.
But most of the Japanese audience don't watch English movie, so I have to try to explain in Japanese too. I mean, Japanese native speaker. It's easy to explain in Japanese too. So yeah, thank you for telling me.
No, of course. I think there's Netflix is great about internationalization, and there's
Yeah,
a lot of Japanese shows
yeah,
and
yeah,
movies
yeah,
and manga,
yeah.
in on Netflix that I think
Mhm.
it sort of grows out, and I feel like Japan has been in the news a lot for the market's recovered, like the market's really good, and there's a lot of business that is happening more and more in Japan. I think now is a really good time.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Jesse, time flies. So next question is last question.
Mm.
I want to ask you if you want to tell Japanese entrepreneurs and investors something, you wanted to tell something, please tell me, please tell us.
Mm.
Last question. This is the last question.
So I think passion is fundamental. You need to have. You can't do anything. Nothing is worth doing unless you're passionate about it.
Oh, I
And
see.
I think passion is really, really critical. At the same time, you need to be able to balance that passion with viability. And I think at the end of the day, it's more about the questions that you ask that would make something viable, right? And so I think that it's important. The other thing is there's always there's there's always a solution, right, to a problem, and every problem becomes an opportunity. I forget, but I think the kanji for problem, right, doesn't it combine opportunity or something? I forget exactly, but there's I'll look it up. It might have been maybe originally Chinese, but there's every problem could be an opportunity for something new, right?
Okay.
A new way of looking at something. One of my favorite expressions that I recently heard was
Okay.
that um, uh, uh, good decisions come from bad experience. Experience comes from bad decisions, essentially, right? And
Oh, I
when
see.
you make a bad decision, you learn something new, and then you can apply that experience to become a good decision, right? So good decisions come from experience. Experience comes from bad decisions. And so,
I
so,
see.
that line of thinking, I think, is going to be important. But at the end of the day, it's just you've got to enjoy what you do, because otherwise, what's the point?
Okay. Thank you for your last message. So let's wrap up. Thank you for today, Jesse. I was very happy to talk with you today.
Thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to
Yeah.
to join you on this. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.